From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. Israel forces have intensified attacks in Gaza, killing 123 Palestinians and injuring 169 others within 24 hours, the Palestinian Health Ministry reports. The attacks have been focused on Rafah, where airstrikes killed 12 and injured many, while 6 civilians died in shelling. An Israeli sniper shot a Palestinian woman outside a hospital. Concerns continue to mount over a potential ground invasion in Rafah, home to now 1.4 million displaced Palestinians, with the UN warning of significant casualties. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, Israeli strikes have killed 27,708 Palestinians, with more than 67,000 wounded since October the 7th. Hamas has presented a counter-proposal for a Gaza truce deal, emphasizing deadlines and urging negotiations to resolve any disagreements. The proposal spans 3 phases, each lasting 45 days. In the initial phase, Hamas seeks the release of prisoners, aid and fuel access to Gaza, and freedom of movement. Subsequent phases include further releases and exchanges of remains. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Israel underscores the importance of the proposed deal as he meets with Israeli officials.
We had an opportunity today to discuss with the Israeli government the response that Hamas sent last night to the proposal that the United States, Qatar, and Egypt had put together to bring the remaining hostages home and extend the humanitarian pause. What I can tell you about these discussions is that while there are some clear non-starters in Hamas's response, we do think it creates space for agreement to be reached. And we will work at that relentlessly until we get there.
Hamas says it has responded positively to the proposed framework, demanding international guarantees for its implementation. The truce deal, initially crafted by the U.S. and Israeli officials with Egyptian and Qatari involvement, aims to secure prisoners and a longer pause in the fighting. Hamas also wants at least 60,000 temporary homes and 200,000 tents allowed into Gaza, as well as a halt to Israeli settlers storming Al-Aqsa Mosque complex. Blinken has visited Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Qatar as part of his current tour in the region. He also is scheduled to visit Ramallah to meet Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The only truce so far in November was initially agreed to for just 4 days and extended to last a week. At the time, Hamas released 110 prisoners in exchange for 240 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. In related news, President Joe Biden has said Hamas's response to a proposed Gaza truce framework seems a little over the top. He, however, acknowledged that there has been movement on the truce proposal. Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani described Hamas's response as positive. Blinken is on a regional tour as he seeks to build momentum on an agreement to release prisoners in Hamas's captivity in exchange for a temporary pause in Israel's war on Palestine. At a January 28 meeting in Paris, Israel, the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar discussed a 3-stage deal involving a hostage swap and cessation of hostilities in Gaza, according to Palestinian and American sources. Israel estimates that about 136 Israeli prisoners are in Gaza, while it holds at least 8,800 Palestinians in its prisons, according to sources from both sides. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry has firmly stated its stance on normalization with Israel, rebuffing claims of eminent diplomatic ties. The ministry has emphasized that the kingdom will not establish diplomatic relations with Israel until an independent Palestinian state is recognized on the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. It also spells out conditions including an end to the Israeli aggression in Gaza, along with the withdrawal of all Israeli forces from the territory. The Palestinian Authority has expressed gratitude for Saudi Arabia's position, aligning it with its own aspirations for statehood and an end to the Israeli occupation. The announcement follows Secretary of State Blinken's recent discussions with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi Arabia has also urged United Nations member states to recognize a Palestinian state. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has demanded a hate crime investigation by the Department of Justice after a 23-year-old Palestinian-American man was stabbed in Austin, Texas. Zakaria Douar was attacked by a white man while driving home from a demonstration against Israel's war on Gaza. Authorities say that the alleged assailant, identified as Bert James Baker, hurled racial slurs and assaulted Douar before stabbing him in the chest. Tlaib and the Council on American Islamic Relations have condemned the attack as a result of the dehumanization of Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslim Americans. The Austin Police Department suspects the attack was motivated by bias and will forward details to the Hate Crime Review Commission. Tlaib emphasized the urgent need to address escalating Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian sentiment in the United States. CNN is under fire as staff members accuse the network of biased coverage regarding Israel's war on Gaza. British newspaper The Guardian has revealed that employees from CNN's newsrooms worldwide allege editorial decisions favor Israel, influenced by directives from its headquarters in Atlanta. The tone set by CNN's new CEO, Mark Thompson, allegedly prioritizes Israeli perspectives, sidelining Palestinian voices and minimizing civilian casualties. Staffers assert that CNN's policies marginalize Palestinian views with restrictions on Hamas coverage and delayed approval processes favoring Israeli sentiments. A set of guidelines circulated among CNN staff emphasized the need to frame the conflict in terms of Hamas's actions while downplaying broader historical context or alternative perspectives. Critics say CNN's editorial standards have been compromised, particularly in light of perceived biases during the Ukraine conflict since February 2022. Dramatic footage shows Palestinian children drinking muddy water in Gaza. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Palestinians are being forced to live under harsh weather conditions with limited access to food and water amid Israel's attacks on Gaza. Anadolu agency Video News has documented conditions in the region. It recorded a small puddle of rainwater in a muddy street becoming the only source of drinking water for the Keskin family on Tuesday. The footage shows a child, Abdusalam Keskin, drinking from the pooled, muddy rainwater as he has no other drinking water source near his destroyed house in Gaza. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators faced hostility, including rape threats, during an event in Prague, co-hosted by the Israeli embassy. Anadolu news agency captured the threat on camera. Protesters symbolically spilled red paint at the entrance, representing Palestinian children's blood. They denounced attendees entering the Czech-Israeli Forum for stepping over the thousands of Palestinian children killed in Gaza. Demonstrators, including women, encountered aggressive responses, with one individual issuing rape threats. Protesters, who were filmed by some, forced the Israeli ambassador to use a different entrance. Security warned of potential legal action against the demonstrators. Protester Jana Ridvanova said she was disappointed at the conduct of attendees. She called it barbaric, inhumane behavior that must be condemned and has no place in modern civilized society. Many Muslims in occupied East Jerusalem gathered at Al-Aqsa Mosque complex on Tuesday to mark the night of Laylatul Miraj. Footage shows people came to observe the night prayer together at the mosque despite ongoing Israeli restrictions. The night, also known as the Night of Ascension, is generally observed on the 27th day of the Islamic month of Rajab, the 7th month in the Islamic calendar. Laylat al-Miraj marks the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, night journey from Mecca to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, from where he ascended to heaven. Since Israel's latest war on Palestine began on October 7th, Israeli restrictions have prevented tens of thousands of Palestinian Muslims from attending weekly Friday prayers at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Police have imposed restrictions on entering the mosque, but they have been particularly strict on Fridays. Only 13,000 people were able to enter the mosque to perform prayers, compared to more than 50,000 on regular Fridays, according to an official in the Islamic Endowments Department in Jerusalem. Eyewitnesses told Anadolu news agency that the mosque seemed almost empty of Muslims faithful due to Israeli restrictions. Israel's police set up barriers at the entrances to the Old City and the outer gates of Al-Aqsa Mosque, allowing only elderly people to pass. Israeli restrictions have forced hundreds of worshippers to perform prayers in the streets near the Old City. US-based global tech firm Meta announced it will label images generated by artificial intelligence on its platforms. Images users post to Facebook, Instagram, and Threads in the coming months will undergo the process, as the company can detect AI-generated industry standards indicators. Meta says that the difference between human and synthetic content is getting blurred. It also notes that people want to know the boundaries and transparency around this new technology. 2 women in Wisconsin's Milwaukee County admitted guilt in an attack on a group of Muslim women last summer. The women, Miracle Reed and Peyton Smith, are facing sentencing under hate crime guidelines. Reed pleaded guilty to felony battery and disorderly conduct with hate crime enhancements, and also to bail jumping. Smith pleaded guilty to battery with hate crime enhancements. Muslim organizations pressed for the case to be prosecuted as a hate crime. Witnesses reported the assailants initiating the attack with derogatory remarks and physical violence, including removing the Muslim woman's hijab. Sentencing is set for February the 23rd. The Council on American Islamic Relations applauded the guilty pleas, emphasizing the importance of addressing religiously motivated violence. A federal appeals court has dismissed former President Donald Trump's argument for presidential immunity against criminal charges linked to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that Trump lacks executive immunity, clearing the way for potential prosecution. Trump's legal team plans to appeal the case at the Supreme Court or seek a full review by appellate court, prolonging the case. The ruling amid delays in the trial's scheduling deals a significant blow to Trump's defense strategy against accusations of interference in the 2020 presidential election. The Afghan Taliban have rejected the UN Security Council's latest report about the presence of Al-Qaeda and other militant groups in Afghanistan. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid called the accusation false and said those defeated in Afghanistan are spreading propaganda against the Taliban administration. His reaction came after the report submitted to the Security Council Committee by the SIL and Al-Qaeda Taliban monitoring team claimed Al-Qaeda is backing the banned Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in attacks against Pakistan. TTP is a conglomerate of several militant groups in Pakistan that Islamabad believes is currently inside Afghanistan. However, Kabul denies its presence in the country. The UN Security Council said despite the Afghan Taliban stance of discouraging TTP activities outside Afghanistan, the militant group has engaged in cross-border attacks in Pakistan. According to reports, some Afghan Taliban fighters have joined the TTP, and the Afghan Taliban are providing aid to families of the Pakistani militant group. However, Mujahid said that there is no presence of Al-Qaeda and the administration does not allow anyone to use the territory of Afghanistan. Before we end today's news, may I make a special request? It takes 55 hours of work daily to produce this news for you. It's news with a unique perspective, and you find it only here. Sound Vision is a not-for-profit organization which produces it. And just like PBS and NPR, it depends on your donations. Please visit Muslim Network TV to donate now. Or click the link below to donate. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.